Today we're going to look at x factoring. Our learning objective is that we'll be able to use the x method for factoring trinomials. So the x method is what we call x factoring. This is a guaranteed method for factoring quadratic equations. Now, if you've forgotten, quadratic equations are anything that has the form x squared. And we'll also learn that we can do this with certain equations that might be x cubed or x to the fourth, so on and so forth. So what we're going to use x method for is when we're given a trinomial. If you see here, this is a trinomial because there are three pieces. I'm going to focus on the coefficients a, b, and c. These are our three pieces, okay? What we're going to do for x method is we first draw an x. At the top of the x, we're going to place the coefficients a times c, or really we're going to put their product there. And then down at the bottom, we'll put the coefficient b. What we're going to try to find is m and n, values that will multiply to be equal to the product of a times c, and will add to be equal with the value b. That's what we're doing today. Let's look at example 1. We're given a trinomial 3x squared plus 27x plus 60. We're going to use the x method. Now, before we ever start with the x method, we always look for the GCF, the greatest common factor. On this problem, I can see that 3 is common. So what I will do is, in essence, divide out 3 from each term. Now, it's not just totally going to disappear. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place it out front of a parenthesis. Now, 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I'm left with just x squared plus 9x plus 20. Now, step 2 says use the x method, and I'm going to use this new trinomial here for the x method. It'll be simplified. So remember, a times c goes up on the top and b goes in the bottom. Now you might be asking, now wait a minute, one more time. What is a, what is b, what is c? A is this value here, b is this value here, and c is this value there. So since a doesn't have a number, we're going to say it's the number 1. So we have 1 times positive 20, which is 20. b is 9. It'll be placed right there. So now we look for two factors that multiply to be 20 and add to be 9. Someone might say 10 and 2. Well, 10 and 2 do multiply to be 20, but they do not add to be 9. The correct values here would be 5 and 4. So now we're going to use what's called the bottoms-up technique to cancel. But before you do that, you need to place these in parentheses. Well, whenever we factor a trinomial, it will always give us two binomials. So I'm going to copy, I still have this 3 from earlier, but now instead of having one trinomial, I will have two binomials. What you do is you start with this a term. It was 1x squared. You're going to divide the power by 2. The coefficient stays the same. So I'm still going to have 1 here, but then x squared, that divided by 2 would just be x to 1 power, and that goes in first. Now I put these two terms second. This is a positive 5, this is a positive 4, so it will be plus 5 and plus 4. So canceling with bottoms up means this. You look to see if there's anything that could divide into both of these to simplify. Well, the only number that can go into both of these is 1. So now my answer is whatever this is after you simplify it, which in this case, since I'm dividing by 1, does not change it. It will be 3 times the quantity x plus 5 times the quantity x plus 4. That should be our solution. Now let's double check and make sure that this solution is actually correct. The way to do that is by distributing. Well, I want to distribute here the first term 3 through that first parenthesis. So if I did that, I would be left with 3x plus 3 times 5 is 15. So that's the new first parenthesis, and the second parenthesis stays the same. Now I need to distribute this by using FOIL. If you remember from Algebra 2, FOIL means first times first, outside times outside, inside times inside, last times last. Okay, so here I go first times first, which is 3x squared, and then outside times outside, so I'd have 3x times 4, which is 12x, and then inside times inside, which is 15 times x, 15x, And then finally, last times last is 15 times 4, 60. When I simplify this, I get 3x squared. The 12x plus 15x combined become 27x plus 60. Was that what we started with? It was. Oh, so that means we've done it correctly.